Well, today's episode, we're going to discuss more on MLW, NXT UK, 205 Live, and of course, New Japan Strong with the Road of Detonation. So all of that will be discussed, reviewed on this episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everybody, welcome to Deleted WrestleZone. All things that is pro wrestling from AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, NXT, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, many promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host, Jay Rod here. So, let's get started with MLW, since they're in their second weeks of the return. They started out with the opening round of the Opera Cup. If you guys recall, this was a tournament that was held last year. Last tournament cup holder that was held before of 2019 was Stu Hart, and it was won by his grandson, Davey Boy Smith Jr. So the opening round happened with Richard Holiday versus TJP. Now, this was a really good match. As you know, Richard Holiday I think he may have been in the last year's Cup tournament, but I can't recall. So this was a really good one. But before this match, there was he actually was given an update on Hammerstone that he said he's going to be okay, that he'll be back. But however, he was confronted by Gino Medina, who they go back and forth. Gino claimed that he actually quit Dynasty, but Holiday claimed that he fired him. So they're going back and forth on this. But he did kind of give him a warning saying that something could happen to him. So Gino, if you guys know this, he is part of the as an alternative. So basically, if something happens to Holiday, maybe Gino could take his place. So that's kind of interesting to hear. But however, the match was good. I mean, I kind of figured it was going to go in Richard Holiday's favor because TJP, he's currently with Impact Wrestling. Since this is mostly aired on YouTube, not televised, but that's the way I see it. So he advances, so he will face the winner of next week. I don't recall who would be. Now, as you know, because of the restrictions, we had a Thanksgiving greeting from the Von Erichs, including the legendary Kevin Von Erich out of Hawaii. So it was kind of nice of them to do that. But the next thing we see is King Mo, who is unhappy and displeased that he is not in the Opera Cup tournament. Reason is he's an alternative. Basically, if any of the other competitors in the tournament are injured or out, they step in. He felt he should have been a tournament right from the start, and his flunky, I forgot his name, made a compelling argument trying to say that it's disrespectful out of MLW not to include King Mo in the tournament. He felt that Low Key, who is in the tournament, should not have been involved. He was injured. He was hurt. He should not have been involved whatsoever. So he said that he will file an appeal to have Low Key removed and put King Mo. Now, I don't know if that will ever happen, but we just got to wait and see what happens then. Now, the next match, well, not the next match, we'll stop. As you all know, recently, something happened since before the restart. It was revealed for a long time, since Contra Unit has been bursting in, attacking everybody left and right, up and down. How are these guys getting in? And then it was revealed it was Zelina De La Renta who let them in. It turns out that they paid her. Now, Zelina De La Renta is mad that MLW officials suspended her license to be a producer within the show. So she's upset that MLW will answer for them doing this. Now, however, this was the evidence that Conan actually posted out saying she did this. Conan, he may be a lot of things, but when it comes to things like this with MLW being compromised by Contra's attacks, he's not going to tolerate it. But we'll see what happens when Selena De La Renta gets her revenge. Now, the next match, we have the debut of Calvin Tankman. Now, I mentioned this guy before in GCW on certain occasions. But man, that was a pretty... But this match was more of a squash match because he's in it now. And he was facing against Robert Martyr. I think that's his name. But however, in post-match when he won, he said that he was thankful that he's in it. He even shout out to his daughter. You know, that sort of thing. So it's kind of nice that we get a new blood into MLW. That's something that every promotion needs. New blood. Now, the next thing we see is the updates with Alex Hammerstone. As you know, he was attacked by some mysterious member of Contra Unit. He kind of slammed him hard through the apron of the ring and whacked him with the chairs. So he had tons of rib fracturing, all of that. So it's still unclear how long. But the real question, I'm kind of curious, how long is it be out if this would affect him to, how do I say, relinquish the MLW National Openweight Championship, which he is currently the title holder, because he's the first only to win it. So pretty much that's what I've been seeing. Now, next match we have. Well, before that, I forgot this. Joseph Samel said that he is not going to tolerate Hammerstone. Hammerstone has now called his shot that he is calling out Jacob Fatu for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this is going to be interesting to see, but I can't wait to see it. Now, the main event is another opening round of the Opera Cup tournament. This time is Rocky Romero versus Tom Lawler. Now, this is one of those matches where you get Rocky Romero, who hasn't been in MLW for almost 16 years, back from 2001 to 2002. And he's facing off Tom Lawler. This was a really good match because we know who Rocky is. He's a multiple-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion and Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion. But it was a good match. I liked it. But however, it ended with Tom Lawler putting Rocky Romero in a submission. And because of that, he put out a little promo saying that he is here to win the Opera Cup tournament. So basically, we're going to see how that goes. But I do know for a fact next week, for this coming episode of MLW, there's going to be a rematch from the finals of last year's Opera Cup tournament, Low-Key versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. That is something I'm interested in see. So that is it right now with MLW. So let's jump in with NXT UK. Okay, so we got the opening match for the NXT UK. The first match was for the Cruiserweight Champion, which is held by Jordan Devlin. Now, before you ask is, for all you NXT fans out there, you're saying, wait a minute, I thought Santos Escobar is the champion. Well, that kind of led into a problem due to the pandemic. Originally, it was supposed to be interim, but later NXT. But Jordan Devlin, who was unable to compete, was stuck in the UK or Ireland, somewhere around there. But now he put his title on the line against Amir Jordan. Man, this match was unbelievable. I liked it. It did show Amir Jordan, he was willing to get in the same game as Jordan Devlin. But however, Jordan Devlin always has a saying, never bet against an Irish ace. And he wasn't wrong. But my real question that I've always wondered, is Santo Escobar claiming no one can beat him? Well, I like to see him face against Santos Escobar, because I'm kind of curious. Jordan Devlin, don't get me wrong, he is made a good compelling point. He never lost the title. Santo Escobar is, in a way, the second champion or replacement or whatever he wants to call it, or however you guys want to call it. I would love to see that match when it happens. Now, Rampage Brown has made headways in the wrestling world since he made his debut in NXT UK. Now, it's still unclear who will be his next opponent. He was discussing on that while he was working out. But however, it appears someone stepped up by calling him out. And that person is Saxon Huxley, repeating his name over. Well, Rampage Brown, he's like, okay, I'll take you on. So basically, it's like, okay, so you want to fight? That's fine by me. So that's what happened. Now, we go into earlier of the day. We see Eddie Dennis along with Boar and Primal of the Hunt. They're about to explain the actions, what they did to Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. But however, they were ambushed by them. Basically, their hatred has now reached a very high point where Morgan and Andrews, their longtime friendship with the Hunt, is now become a bitter enemies, all thanks to Eddie Edwards. So it's still unclear when these guys will face off, but I would love to see that. Trust me, that is something you gotta see. The next match is a women's match. We have Isla Daw versus Jinny. Now, as y'all recall last time, Jinny interfered in a match against Piper Nevins and Kaylee Ray. Now, some of you can say, why did she do it? That she did it to help Kaylee Ray, or she did it for her own benefit? I have to say, she did it for both, or what they said. You see, there is a commonology why she did both. Jinny is tired of Piper Nevins taking the spotlight. Like, in the way she looks at her, she's saying, you had your chances over and over and over. You're not good enough for a championship. And he's telling Kaylee Ray, I did you a favor, but now I'm coming for that title. But however, it looks like she's still fixated on Piper, even while during the time, Isla Daw seems like she had everything under control. But however, Jinny giving more punishment to Isla Daw and allowed her to lose the match in a submission thanks to Jinny. But Jinny called out after the match, called out Piper Niven. So we may see a feud between Piper Niven and Jinny. Now, this is not going to be like a number one contender spot. This will be an act of retribution by Piper Niven for having Jinny interfere in a match that she had no business in. But Jinny felt Piper Niven should just stand back and let her do what she felt it should have been her moment. So we'll see more of that in the coming weeks. Now, as you know, last time, in the last episode of NXT UK, Joe Coffey was celebrating the fact that he won his singles match. But however, the party was interrupted by none other than Imperium member Alexander Wolf. Now, Joe Coffey made it perfectly clear. He hasn't forgotten what he did to him the last time when Joe Coffey was in a match against Walter, his boss, the in-ring general. So he put himself in a match. Now, Wolf may be smart, but Sid Scalia, he's a lot smarter. So he approached them saying that he wants Gallus out, being banned from ringside. But however, Sid Scalia overturned it. Said that if Gallus is out, so is Imperium. Wolf wasn't having it, but he may not have no other choice. So that's what happened. Now, let's jump into the main event, the finals of the Heritage Cup tournament between young up-and-comer A-Kid versus Trent Seven. Now, this is one of the brutal matches. Now, if you know Trent Seven's reputation, you would say to yourself, Trent will win. But never underestimate a newcomer like A-Kid, a young prospect wrestler out of Spain coming to the UK. Now, this was a great match. I loved it. At first, it started out with A-Kid picking up his first win in one of the rounds, and then later Trent Seven. But however, one of them had to win the match. And the way to end it is when A-Kid put Trent Seven in a submission move, and he becomes the first ever Heritage Cup winner. So this is a proud moment for a guy like him to win the cup. It was a great match. I'm not going to lie about it. I loved it. Can't wait to see more of this. So I think that's it for now for NXT UK. Let's jump in with 205 Live. Alright, it's 205. Now, the first match is newbie August Gray versus 205 original Ari Daivari alongside Tony Nese. Now, as you know, Daivari and Nese have a problem with wrestlers like Gray and Stallion, who just be the newcomers taking up their spot. Now, I understand the scenario that you don't like these new bloods coming in and trying to take your spot. But however, these guys are up for the task to prove they belong in 205 Live. But man, the match showed Gray wasn't willing to surrender, especially to the 205 originals. But he was in excruciating pain on the knee. He sucked it up. He actually showed he had character. And of course, he won the match, which was one of the biggest upsets ever. So it proved a newcomer is now making a name for himself in 205 Live. That was one hell of a match to talk about. Now, as you know, a couple weeks ago, Curt Stallion became the #1 contender for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, and he made some comments about Escobar, saying that he is not impressed with him winning the match. But however, Legado del Fantasma do not appreciate Stallion, according to Wilde and Mendoza, that you had no right to talk about him. You don't even deserve a Cruiserweight Championship. So that's the one thing that makes Legado Fantasma who they are. They believe that they are the true pioneers and the true conquerors of the Cruiserweight division. But like I said, there is one person they have to beat. And I have to say, I can't wait to see that when it happens. I'm talking about Jordan Devlin. Now, the Bollywood boys have been in the thorn of Ari Daivari for a while, saying that they're not being aggressive enough for them to prove that they are worthy to be in 205 Live. But they find it too funny how the match with Daivari and Gray ended up badly. So they made some funny remarks. But if I were you, Bollywood boys, I would watch my back before I see Daivari and Nese coming after you, because that's the last thing I want to see. Now, the main event for this one was Raul Mendoza versus Curt Stallion. Now, you could see in this match how it would end. You see that he's not there alone. You had Wilde, who would do anything to interfere in the match to prove a point that Curt Stallion doesn't even deserve a title shot. But however, Curt Stallion put a lot of heart, put his soul into this match to prove that he deserved it. And he did. He picked up the victory against Raul Mendoza, but however, Legado wasn't going to tolerate his victory, so they did an old-fashioned beatdown, and of course, we did not expect him to show up. Santos was there, proving a point that he now has his attention. So basically, Santos is now seeing he is a viable threat. So, I can't wait to see what's going to happen when they have their match together. But for now, let's just move on with New Japan Strong. Okay, so now we're doing New Japan Strong. We're now in the latest tour, the Road to Detonation. Well, they're not actually touring because of the pandemic, but that's what they've been saying. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. Or they're just saying it because they just want to say it. I don't know. First match, we have a singles competition. We have Logan Regal alongside his twin brother Sterling facing off against Young Lion, Clark Connors, with being accompanied by the DKZ. As you know, this is Clark Connors. He is one of the top stars in this particular brand, where he showed his dominance multiple times. But now he's facing off against a much up-and-comer of Logan Regal. So it did showed how Clark Connor is proving to be the fan favorite, that I'm assuming that sooner or later he may have to graduate as a young lion and step up to the world to join Carl Fredericks, which I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to go. But the match ended in Clark Connor's favor when he applied the Boston Crab, so he won the match. The next match we had is tag team action. We have Jordan Clearwater and Agent Quest versus Juice Robinson and ACH. Now, you look at this like you got two up-and-coming wrestlers in the independents versus two well-known wrestlers who one been in New Japan, the other been in the independent scenes for far too long. But it did prove one thing about this. You see guys like Juice Robinson, ACH, they are the masters of the game. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm kind of excited to see this match. But, however, this is something I'm very curious to see. Because the thing is this, Juice Robinson, he paired up with a lot of people in his time, mostly with David Finlay. But him with ACH, I have to say he has learned to adapt with anybody if they're willing to. And they're showing this is a veterans game. So they're mostly the top guys who will take the veterancy seriously like any other. So they picked up the victory on that. Now, in the main event, we have a 8-man tag team match. We have Danny Limelight, Russ Taylor, JR Kratos, and Filthy Tom Lawler facing off against PJ Black, Fred Rouser, Rocky Romero, and Jeff Cobb. Now, this has come about last time due to the fact Danny Limelight turned his back on Rocky Romero, aligned himself with Tom Lawler. Now, you can see certain moments where you see the Lawler and his friends are dominant, and then it's switched over with the other team. But how would this match end? It ended in Limelight, Taylor, Lawler, and Kratos' favor. But in post-match, they said they're not a faction. They are the 4 best fighters in the company. That is their main focus. They're not saying we are a faction. Like he has, if you guys notice, Tom Lawler has his own faction in MLW called Team Filthy. It consists with him, Dominic Guarini, Eric Stevens, and try to remember who else. But however, he's not forming a faction with New Japan. He did state that he arrived there because he won Lines Break Collision, and he wants to make his mark in New Japan Strong. But however, we'll see if there's anybody who's willing to take these guys out. I just hope Bullet Club members pay attention that they are a threat. They need to be removed. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode, me talking about MLW, NXT UK, 205 Live, and New Japan Strong. So stay tuned for upcoming episodes. I got the New Japan for 4 days of the tournament with the Best of the Super Juniors World Tag League. But also soon I'll do a review of GCW's latest event. I don't recall the name, but I haven't reviewed the GCW events that took place last month with the collective with 12 different events. That is coming up soon as possible. And if there's any other events that already happened, I'm willing to review those in case if you guys are interested to see. See, here in Deleted Wrestle Zone, if you guys never heard of these, you should check it out. Not because I say so. It's because you should be interesting. There's more promotions you enjoy. More than anything. If you're a fan of pro wrestling, if you love watching different promotions, like what events they put out, how they put on their good show, then you're a fan. You love it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below. Click likes. Tell your friends about me. And I'll see you guys next time. So, I must bid all of you guys adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang!